Here's what we're after. Sea trout. That little guy right there, he's gonna flop right out of my hands. All right, here we are. Check this out. We're at Port Canaveral, Florida. We're just wading in the water. We're just walked in. Here we are, knee deep or a little deeper. And the trout, basically what we're looking for is we're looking for grassy areas where the sand kind of meets the grass. Remember, trout are no different than bass. They're just predators. They're hiding when they can, and we're casting into bait schools to see if we can't get some of those trout out of that grass. And that's all I'm doing. I mean, it's just literally that simple. I'm using a mirrodine, which looks just like a mullet. Remember, match the hatch. It's no different if you're fishing freshwater or saltwater. You're matching the hatch. The hatch right now is mullet. Tons of mullet schools. Get inside of those mullet schools. Where there's bait, there's fish, I promise you. You can see the dolphins chasing the mullet. Everything's chasing the mullet. So we're no different. We're actually chasing the mullet for another reason. We want what's chasing the mullet. We don't want the mullet. So what I'm looking for right now is Marlon had asked the question, Rodney, do you know where I can go and what I can catch fish on? And we're looking for saltwater fish. The question I asked him is, what are you looking for, fresh or salt? And they've caught it, he says they caught enough crappie and they've caught enough, bass from where they are up north. They want to try some of the Florida fishing. And trout fishing is certainly, to me, one of the best fishing out there. You get what's called a grand slam. This is what I talked about earlier. You get a snook, a red, and a trout. That's called a Florida grand slam. And we have the capability of catching all of those right here. I have grand slammed exactly right here where we're standing. So it's not uncommon for that to happen, as long as you're just working that bait and doing that thing. And I want to address one of the other things is he asked the question about fishing license, what do I need to do? Well, the state of Florida offers 3 ways to do it for an out-of-state resident. You can do a 3-day, a 7-day, and of course a year fishing license. If you know you're going to be here 7 days and you're not going to be fishing the rest of the year, that's obviously the best way to go. And I think it's like 17 bucks. myfwc.com is the best way to look that up. I think it's like 17 bucks per person. So if you're 7 days, that's by far the best way. Oh, God. Oh. That thing crashed it. You see the pole hit my chest? That thing about snatched it right out of my hand. What I'm doing is, if you look what I got, I'm actually fishing with a mirrodine suspending jerkbait. It looks just like a mullet. And as we were coming over the bridge, we were seeing just schools and schools of mullets. And what I'm doing is I'm finding those schools, they're jumping, they're kind of sitting at the surface. And I'm casting my lure just inside of them and just past them. And I'm twitching my lure in through them, so as they swim away and they disappear, the only thing left is my bait, the last mullet alive. So the fish immediately thinks, oh man, there's one left over. That's mine. And that's how they pile drive it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just wading. Just got in the water. We're not fishing out of the boat today. We are simply just doing what anybody can do right here at Port Canaveral. So one of the things I like about doing this is teaching people to fish. I got a buddy that really didn't grow up in this environment, and what I mean by this environment, the outdoors. So he didn't really get the teachings like I guess some of us did. So I met him probably 15 years ago and tried to talk him into fishing, and he was just like, there's no way, I'm not going to have that. Just not going to be a part of that. And so he ended up buying a house in my neighborhood. He had a lake behind his house. So, I said, hey man, you mind if I get behind your house and make a few casts every now and then? He said, absolutely not. So, I catch a few bass here and there, and then I go over to feed his dog one day, and I see a couple rods and reels in his garage. I kind of called him and said, hey man, what you got here? And he says, well, I'm dabbling a little bit. So his dabbling over the years became, you know, him catching some bass. So he sent me a picture of a bass, and he said, hey man, you know, check this out, my first bass. Am I a fisherman? So I text back and said, no, not a fisherman, not yet. So weeks went by, and he'd send me pictures of bass, and here comes the same old question. Am I a fisherman? No, not a fisherman. I can only imagine he's probably getting extremely frustrated at this point trying to reach his fisherman status. He's being pretty successful catching some bass. Well, I get a call, and he asked me, hey man, how close are you? I said, well, I'm actually, you know, a couple miles from the house. He goes, got a question for you. I said, what's that? He says, how do you get a hook out of your hand? I said, man, I am on my way. I am gonna, you know, get this hook out. Now, my thought was I'm gonna give him the old 1-2 skidoo, snatch a rooney, and that hook's coming out. Apparently, he had the dog hooked in the lip. The dog jumped up and grabbed it and trying to take it out of the dog's face. The dog snatched and hooked him right in the middle finger. So I'm on my way. So we're passing each other coming down our road. The pain got so excruciating for him. Now it was out of the dog's mouth that he was on his way to the hospital. So I pulled over the side of the road, and he still has the lure kind of hooked to the hook. And I said, man, we got to get that lure off of there. So I pulled out my Gerber, and I said, we're going to clip just the eye of the hook. So when I did, you know, he screamed. You know, it was just pretty excruciating, and we're laughing at the same time. And then I patted him on the back and said, now you're a fisherman. Oh yeah, he got it. Oh yeah. Look at that. The way he got it, you should have seen it. Look at his hook. This is actually funny. I'll tell you why he hooked himself like this. Look at that. Here's why you don't ever want to lip a trout. See that tooth right there? That right there is a thumb getter. Let me see here. That is a gorgeous fish, man. Look at that. These guys, what they're doing is they're coming up to the surface and making that spin. As they come up, if they miss it, they make that spin. Well, he actually came in twice. And I'll tell you how he did it and why I kind of slowed down. And when he came in and I seen him, he popped it and he kind of let go. I stopped my bait. Usually when they hit it, it's like they just knock the fire out of it and expect that bait has died or slowed down. So I stopped my bait, and then he came in for the second time, and that's when he pile drive it. This one's about 14 inches, maybe 13. So to be legal to keep, and I rarely keep them, they have to be 15 inches. So beautiful guy. Watch it. Gone. So so he actually hooked himself in the belly because he missed it the second time, and coming so close as his tail went around, it actually caught the hook. So he came in after it twice. The second time he pile drived it. Okay, let me explain something real quick. One is, I have 2 rods. Now, do you have to have 2 rods? No, this is the tournament deal in me. Got a couple different baits. What I like to do is kind of keep a different bait tied on each rod. This is the DOA shrimp. We fished with the Mirrodine suspending mullet, so to speak. It's a green Mirrodine suspending jerkbait. We caught a couple fish off, but had tons of hits. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just going to switch over to the DOA shrimp to kind of get the feel of what we got there. We may get more hits, may get less hits. So this is just basically going to tell us, gauge what the fish are biting. So this is a shrimp. It's natural in their habitat. We're going to see if we can't catch a couple fish off of it. So that's kind of why I keep 2 poles. You don't have to have 2 poles. You can retie it. I highly recommend, because carrying 2 poles with you is it's a tough thing to do, because you have to hang it in the bushes. You can't drop it in the water, that kind of deal. So let's go see if they hit this DOA. Talk a little bit about retrieve. Fishing with the Mirrodine, or especially the DOA shrimp, basically what I do is I do like a jerk pause. So basically taking my rod and just giving it a little jerk pause. What it's doing for the Mirrodine, it's making it just kind of do a swivel pow, and then just a swim and then a stop. For the DOA, it actually makes the shrimp hop. It just does a hop and then a sink, hop then a sink. Basically what we're trying to do is trying to mimic what the bait fish are actually doing out here in the wild, giving it the same action, and that's what they're doing. Shrimp, now, if you've never seen a shrimp swim, they flip with their back tails, and they just kind of close up and they open. Sometimes, you know, they're just in a forward motion and they're just kind of crawling with their legs nice and forward with their bodies fully extended, and that's basically what we got. The posture of the shrimp that we have is a relaxed posture that tells the fish that we don't have a worry in the world. When they're in that quick swim mode, that means they're afraid. But right now, our posture of our DOA is a relaxed, nice, just a little trickle swim. And that's usually when the bass say, okay, I got you right here. Bass, trout, fish, you name it. I'm stuck on bass fishing. So, and that's what we're looking for. I'm just giving it a jerk, like it's just pee-diddling along, nice and relaxed, not a worry in the world. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk around those guys, and we'll walk out that side. Kind of walk out that way. You can kind of see how far we are away from shore. One of the reasons a lot of people fish from shore is and are not successful is, one is, what you have to picture is we're basically in a desert. Although there's water, it doesn't necessarily mean there's fish. If there's no structure or no reason for those fish to be there, if you fish from shore, you pretty much have to happen that fish by, meaning he's just got to be able on his way somewhere. The chances of you actually catching that fish for that reason are pretty slim. So basically what I'm doing is I'm actually wading out here. I'm going to be going probably another 30 or 40, 50 yards, and I'm looking for just the start points of grass. Once I find that grass, then I know I'm pretty much surrounded by grass within a 100-foot radius. Then I'm going to start casting this shrimp and see if we can't catch a few trout. And that's usually where the red are too. The reds, they're just basically feeding in that grass. So that's kind of why I walk out here. And a lot of people are afraid to do that because, one is, you're in salt water. There's just a lot of stereotypical dangerous stuff in salt water. Trust me, you'll be fine. Just put some rubber shoes on and get to walking, and keep your eye down and just look for the grass. That's what we're looking for. So I'm just going to keep going a little bit and see if I can't find some sporadic pieces of grass. Yeah, this is perfect. Because I know I got grass at my feet. I know pretty much any way I cast out this way, it's a little bit deeper. And I was started to go down, so I knew we got some kind of shelf here. Actually, a really good spot. In this case, the redneck depth finder would be my toes. Now that we're out here, answer a question. 10 years ago, you didn't need a fishing license to do what we're doing, and basically what that is, that's just being on shore and fishing. It's called the shoreline fisherman. Now, you have to have a fishing license. There are a few exemptions, like if you're in the military or you're over 65 or you're under 16 years old, there are exemptions. But now the way it is if you have a rod and reel and you are fishing from shore, you have to have a fishing license. And honestly, to tell you the truth, when it first came out, it was a big to-do of, oh my gosh, now every fishing license that we buy actually helps the state fishery. And I'm going to tell you what, this fishery is phenomenal. We are the #1 fishing capital in the world. And with good ethics and fishing license, we're going to stay that way. Like I said, you get a 3-day, a 7-day, and a 1-year fishing license as a non-resident. So yes, you got to have a fishing license. If you don't have a fishing rod or you're watching someone fish, you're fine. You don't need a fishing license. But if you're fishing from a boat and you're fishing with a captain, a guide, then no, you do not need a fishing license. As long as that guide, the captain of that boat, has his captain's license. So you're good there. So if you hire a guide, you don't need a fishing license. So remember that. Right now we're fishing from shore, actually in the water. Yeah, fishing license for shore. So make sure you got one. I always cast in a radius. It's like a water sprinkler, so to speak. Start in one spot and slowly fan my way around before I move positions on this case. Right now, the fish do not want the DOA shrimp. Got 2 manatees. Well, it looks like the sea trout definitely preferred the Meridine over the DOA shrimp today. But check this out. Since we were in Cocoa Beach area, I wanted to swing down and stop by one of my favorite bait shops. That was Black Dog Bait and Tackle. Check us out. We're right here at Black Dog Baits. This is one of the bait shops that I talk about on the website. One of the cool things about Black Dog is actually when you come here, you get the information that you need, and that's the way it should be with a bait shop. Basically, when you walk in and you ask a question, hey, where they're biting, what are they doing? If you don't get that information, then odds are you're not going to buy a bait from that bait shop. One of the cool things about Chris and Mike here is Mike is actually Sebastian Inlet, which is just south of here, El Profesional. He knows everything about it. East side, west side. There's so many tricks and gimmicks, and you can pick his brain in literally just a few minutes and kind of point you in the right direction. And Chris is the same way. He knows the surf. He knows the Banana River. I mean, it's all right here. And they're going to tell you what in the world you're going to catch these fish on, and they're going to show you, and they're going to have them in their shop. Like take for instance this morning, we caught some trout. We caught them on the Meridine lures. Are they going to have Meridines? You betcha. It's one of the top baits for trout and redfish. So basically what you'll see is when you buy these baits, they're going to point you in the right direction. They're going to give you that pinpoint location, and then that's where you're going to fish. It's not one of those blasé things where you just say, hey, we're fishing in Melbourne. Melbourne's a huge place. The Atlantic Ocean is on one side and the Banana River's on the other. So where are we going to fish? These guys right here are going to tell you, and that's why I'm here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in and buy a couple lures and kind of show you what I'm buying, and we're going to see how it turns out. All right, we're inside the honey hole. Here's where the excitement starts. If you look at our Facebook post last week, 2 weeks ago actually, you talk about, I spoke to Chris and said, hey, you know, how's the trout doing? And he says they're hitting on the diamond jigs and that stuff. And I'm going to show you what that is right here and what I caught them on this morning. One is the Meridine, the Miraloo suspending Meridine right here, and the other one is the diamond jig, which is right here. This is kind of what they're biting on, and we're going to give it a shot. Inside here is a plethora of things to do. Shark fishing on the surf. Chris was telling me this morning they're actually hitting a lot of sharks. If you've never caught a shark, come in and talk to Chris and Mike, and I promise you they're going to hook you right up. They got rods and reels here if you don't have them. They got all the shark rigs, and they got all the bait that you need. Shrimp are back. That's a good sign. That's always a good sign. So if you're like me, not like me, and you do like the live bait fish, this is where you get it. So we're gonna get these and see how they do.
All right, man. Go get them. Pleasure was mine. You guys have fun.
Thank you, buddy. Well, after talking to Chris and Mike, apparently we're not the only ones with a slow day today. And I tell you what, this is one reason why I love fishing. There are no 2 days the same. And that's why they call it fishing and not catching. So I hope we've answered a few of your questions, Marlon. And man, if you could do the biggest favor, show us some of your catches right here on Facebook. We'd love to see your posts. Thanks so much, man.
So, having said all that, here's the deal. Get outside, stay outside, enjoy what you do, and it doesn't matter what you do. I love it, and I know certainly you're gonna love it. I swear to God, you're gonna love it. I love it. You're gonna love it.